MPV, SUV, both acronyms, two different ways of ferrying around multiple passengers. But which is best? To find out, we have the Kia Carnival representing the traditional multi-purpose vehicle or people mover. And on the sport utility vehicle side, we have Mazda's biggest passenger car, the CX-9. Okay, let's get straight into finding out how these two vehicles perform their primary task, moving more passengers than your average passenger car. Now, we don't have a 2.4 children family available today, and my wife's at work and the kids are at daycare, but we do have another well-bonded group of people, the Car Advice family. CX-9 first. So we've got a nice wide opening door to start off with, that's a good start. Then getting to the third row is pull a lever, slide the seat forward. Okay, hop on board. Okay, now let's get this seat back. Now, the second row does slide, so we can sort of play around with the leg room, but how's that? Let me climb in.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's just slightly under the chairs.
Yeah.
But apart from that, knees up a bit high. I've got about 1 or 2 centimetre clearance from the chair in front. Yeah, not too bad. Backrest is okay. Nice head support.
I've literally got like that much space for my feet.
Okay, so just short trips only, ideally.
For
Okay.
me, anyway, yeah. Or if you're a kid.
So how's that, Jin?
Bit tight. Probably not ideal for long trips.
Now, are there any air vents back there?
No air vents. Probably would get a bit claustrophobic back there, I reckon.
You like to have windows down, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Or at least access, or an option too.
Okay. And PK, numb legs?
I wasn't in there for too long, but I'm actually quite surprised. There's quite a bit of room back there.
What do you think of the windows? Bit on the small side?
I would have liked a bit more lighting there. So maybe if the sunroof was a bit longer.
Yeah, it's just
a bit more light in the back.
Yeah, it's kind of mostly over the front of the cabin,
yeah.
isn't it? Okay, let's check out the second row. That's it. Get nice and comfy. Okay, so the test is, can you get 3 adults comfortably across the second row?
Seatbelts?
All right, yeah, come on, let's see if we can get your seatbelts on.
Sorry, Sarah.
That's all right. There we go.
Yeah.
I've got
That was actually alright.
I've got plenty.
Yeah.
Jin, you got the transmission tunnel. Is that getting in your way a bit?
Yeah, kind of don't really notice it. I mean, that's fine. Oh, but when you put the seat back and this one is dead
Oh
on,
yeah. Okay, so I need to put mine back as well.
it's kind of like a all or nothing kind of thing.
Yeah.
There
But
we go.
at least we've got vents in the second
Oh,
row.
we do too.
Way!
Was it heat seaters?
Oh,
Seat
yeah.
heating as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Second row has probably a bit more space in the back.
Yeah, vents are good. I feel like the person in the middle is going to cop a lot of air. But no, it's good. It's nice having everything controlled from the back too.
I really like the space in the second row.
I think the third row would be a bit tight, but you're not. I mean, most people won't have people in the third row that often anyway. So I think for the times that you need it, it'll be fine.
I guess for these type of cars, it's mainly suited for families with young kids, so great to get the kids in the back.
Now, something you wouldn't have noticed in there, because you're using the centre middle seat, is that the armrest folds down, and in it is a storage tray with 2 USB ports, which is pretty handy, I think. Now, let's go and compare the Carnival for cabin space. Okay, onto the Carnival, and with the Platinum spec, as well as the SLI, that's one rung down, we get electric sliding doors. Very fancy. Now, to get access to the third row, very simple. You pull this lever here, tips forward. Right, okay, climb in.
It's a 3-seater.
Oh yeah, it's a bit tight, but
I think that centre seat is probably
Honestly, no.
more intended for a kid.
Yeah, that one goes here.
okay.
Ah, right.
And then we're good.
Done.
And you get a slightly wider window at the
Yeah.
side, so a bit
Look
less,
at the side.
claustrophobic,
a bit
potentially.
More, a bit more light.
Okay, so how does the third row compare to the CX-9s?
Well, you've got 3 people
got
back
3.
here, so
Yeah, I'd say this
It's-
is just a little bit more room, only just a touch.
So a bit more leg room.
There's a lot, there's a
definitely
lot more
more
leg
leg
room,
room.
yeah.
Yeah, the legroom's fine.
Yeah,
But-
you got a good 5 centimetre clearance.
but
Okay.
I've got like panels digging into my shoulders and stuff.
Do you get any air back
Yeah,
there?
his shoulders.
Do we?
No, there's some speakers.
You get a shade.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
There you go.
If I can just point out the little hidden. There you go.
There you
There you
go.
go. Yeah, the seats are just a bit more stiffer, I think. The
You should be in the front, if anything, anyway.
I should probably be in the front or holding the camera. Yeah.
That looks like it's going to choke you, eh?
Third row was good, actually. Well, it was good. There's enough room on the seat, but your shoulders hit the hard plastic.
A bit more spacious compared to the CX-9. I mean, you can fit 3 people back there.
Yeah, I thought it was quite fine. There's a bit more leg room than compared to the CX-9.
Air vents are in the ceiling, so it's nice. Kind of like a plane.
2 air vents on each side. Great, especially obviously for hot days.
The windows are good. They're big windows, so you don't feel like you're sitting in the boot of the car.
I like having the shade option as well.
But 3 people, 3 fully grown adults, probably not ideal, but you could get away with it if you had to.
See what I found a bit tricky? It did start to choke my neck a bit.
I don't know if I'd want to have 3 people in the back row for a long trip, but look, if it's just a quick, like, got to get somewhere, fine.
Okay, time to find out what the second row's like. Everyone hop aboard.
I got plenty of room.
Oh, no, actually, does yours decline separately?
It does, yeah. I think they're separated.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it looks to me like there's a little bit more room between you 3 in the second row here.
We can all independently move our stuff.
Yeah, you've just crushed somebody's legs in the third row. Don't worry about that, Jin.
Sorry back there.
It's fine.
Yeah, bonus for Jin. What's the bonus for you, Jin?
I got a little tray, and I've got USB power.
And go even lower than that. There's a bigger bonus than that.
Would need
So much room for activities.
Put your lollies in there.
heaps of storage.
And a flat floor.
Oh yeah, you don't have
true.
the thing.
Yeah,
True, I forgot about that.
Now, are you going to miss the air vents again? That's the question.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Weird.
Caught on this time.
Air conditioning.
I can actually change it up there as well.
Separate.
Oh, but you've got the
Sounds
power,
like
not
a
me.
But no heated seats.
No.
No.
No, I need to check out the front cabins, and no offence, but I don't need you for that part.
Oh.
Okay.
But thanks very much, Car Advice family.
I really like the middle row of the Carnival. Plenty of room. All the seats move independently, which is really handy.
So you're not kind of stuck to whatever the person next to you has?
Yeah, it was great. There's a lot of room back there. A bit more room than the CX-9.
I don't know if I like the person on the far right having all the control of the aircon. I don't like it, especially when it's PK. I don't like that.
I like having the aircon on the right side as well, so I have complete control of the aircon at a comfortable 23.3 degrees.
Heaps of storage in the middle as well, USB.
But yeah, no, really comfortable. Heaps of leg room. Big tick for the second row of the Carnival.
It's all very well fitting that many people into a vehicle, but what about all their luggage? It's not uncommon for multi-passenger vehicles to have compromised boot space behind their third row seats. And that is the case with the CX-9. With only 230 litres of boot space, you would need a roof pod or roof racks if all seats will be occupied for bigger trips away. The Carnival? No problem. With its super deep 960 litre boot, the Kia would actually make a great airport shuttle. It's also Carnival by a mile for expanded luggage space when you don't need to use the third row seats, which are easy to stow in both vehicles. Here, the Carnival offers a voluminous 2,220 litres of cargo space. That compares to 810 litres in the Mazda, though that still makes the CX-9 significantly more practical than the company's hugely popular CX-5, if only 5 seats are needed. Perceived quality is high in the CX-9's cabin, with a generous serving of soft materials and an effective mix of neutral-coloured matte plastics and gloss black panels. The beautifully smooth leather steering wheel feels great in the hands, and the leather seats are invitingly comfortable. And, crucially for many buyers today, set high for a commanding view of the road. The infotainment system's centre console panel and rotary controller add another classy touch. A sunroof is also standard, though a panoramic version would give the cabin more natural light. Now into its third generation, the Carnival has never looked smarter inside. While many of the plastics are hard, the texturing is likeable and soft materials are used for main touch points. There's plenty of tactility with the various buttons and dials too, which have a more consistent quality than the Mazda switchgear. The leather seats are matched perfectly to the two-tone cabin theme and offer plenty of comfort. The driving position is more car-like, which will either be a positive or negative for buyers. As for storage options, let's just say that if you can't find a place for all your items, then you're simply taking more than you need, even for the longest of drives. It certainly has the CX-9 trumped in this respect. The Carnival also has some tech upgrades for 2018. So across the range now you've got autonomous emergency braking, lane departure warning, adaptive cruise control, and also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But my favourite change for 2018 is that the old antiquated foot-operated park brake is gone, and in its place is a new, much more sophisticated electronic version. People movers aren't renowned for being the most inspirational of drives, and the Honda Odyssey was probably really the only exception to that rule. So with the Carnival, well, the steering could be a bit more precise. It's a little wishy-washy around the straight ahead, though my biggest gripe is probably the suspension, which just allows too many bumps into the cabin. And I did have rearmost passengers complaining about the rear end getting a little bit bouncy over speed humps. Now, when you've got a vehicle that weighs more than 2 tonnes, before you start loading up with passengers, a torquey engine certainly helps. And in this regard, the Carnival's got a very handy 2.2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel. And it's got plenty of mid-range torque, although it can struggle once you've got maximum passengers on board, and it is a little gruff sounding and a bit sluggish at low speed. Here in the Mazda CX-9 now, and what's immediately noticeable is better ride quality. Now this top spec CX-9 rides on 20-inch wheels. They're huge. That's a size up on the Kias, yet it's much better at soaking up the worst of urban services. And that doesn't matter whether it's just you on board as a driver or you've got 6 passengers on board as well. It's a better drive than the Carnival in other areas too. The steering is more consistently weighted, it's a lot smoother, and generally it just feels a more confident handling vehicle. In fact, you could say that the CX-9 exhibits many of the dynamic traits of the smaller CX-5. Not that you're going to confuse driving the two vehicles, because the CX-9 does feel a big car, and it might be a bit intimidating, just like the Carnival, for some drivers, especially if you're going into multi-storey car parks or trying to park into fairly small spaces. Motivation for the CX-9 comes from a 2.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol. And I've got to say, I think it's one of my favourite Mazda engines, because apart from the fact that it's nicely refined, it's still got plenty of punch, just like a turbo diesel engine. And it doesn't matter whether it's just you on board or lots of people, the Mazda is never short on performance. And if you really do have your heart set on a diesel-powered 7-seater Mazda SUV, well, you are in luck, because there's now the new Mazda CX-8. The CX-8 may be a worthwhile consideration if keeping fuel costs down is a priority. Our CX-9's trip computer readout suggested fairly heavy consumption, as high as 16 litres per 100 kilometres. So, is it best to shift people with the MPV or the SUV? Well, it depends on your priorities. If you need a third row of seats only for occasional use or short trips, well, the Mazda CX-9 is plenty practical and is the more polished driving experience. However, if you've got a large family and you need as many seats as possible and maximum cargo space and flexibility, then it's easy to understand why the Kia Carnival is Australia's favourite people mover. Right, onto the Carnival, and with the Platinum spec as well as the SLI, that's one rung down, you open the tailgate just like that. Climb in, everyone!